In the words of AI, we're talking about practice, not the game. We're talking about practice. Let's talk about it. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Ryan Herrings. Thank you for being an everydayer. If you're here with us every day, talking Badgers, helping build this community, thank you for being here with us. Listen, I don't say this every show because I want to be respectful of everybody's time, but I do want to say thank you. There's a lot of things people can do with time, and for you to spend some of it here with us, thank you. I appreciate you so much as we build this community. And football's here. Let's talk about practice. Today's episode, we were talking about Ricardo Hallman, recently named top 100 player in college football this year by the Locked On Podcast Network. Who's won practice so far? Just pulling reports from people that have seen it and your thoughts. Plus, who needs to win practice this year? We got all of that and more. Appreciate you jumping on. Let's start here. Ricardo Hallman. So, Locked On Podcast Network, really excited about this. We recently got all of our people together because I don't think people understand how vast the Locked On network is. There's 60, 70 college Locked On shows, and they cover their teams daily. So we got together and we put together the top 100 players in college football. Ricardo Hallman coming in at number 45. I love it. I thought he'd be overlooked a little bit, but I think what he's done for several years has garnered recognition. It's top 50 player in college football, and I think that's dead on. You're not going to find a lot of three-year starting cornerbacks with the production that he has. And the other reason I bring this up is he looks better than ever. Like, you look at offseason pictures of what he's done this offseason. I talked to Nick Osen. One of the things he mentioned was Ricardo Hallman is almost like a changed guy in how much more physical, how he clearly had a great offseason, and he was already in a really good spot. That could bode incredibly well for the Badgers. Having a guy like him, when you have some questions on the other side of the field, when you have a guy like Ricardo Hallman on one side, that I hesitate to say a lockdown corner because there's not many of those in college football. There's not many lockdown corners, but he's about as good as you're going to get in college football. And you can feel really good about that side of the field. His assignments, he's not going to miss things. He's going to be where he's supposed to be. He's physical for his size. He's a playmaker. He's a ball hawk. I think you're in for a really good Ricardo Hallman year, which lessens the stress of the other side. Because we're going to get into Nizer, what they're doing there, what they should be doing there, what's the answer there. We're going to get into that. But gosh, you have a great starting spot with Ricardo Hallman on one side. And we're going to talk about who's won practice so far. I haven't been able to get there. I will be there hopefully in a couple days to see a couple practices, but you can see what people are reporting. And I've talked to some people. He's one of the guys that looks really good so far. Ricardo Hallman has been right there. He's been on point. He looks the part. I think you're in for a tremendous Ricardo Hallman season. And if you get that from one of your cornerbacks, which is one of the toughest spots for Wisconsin specifically to find, to develop, to have those upper tier cornerbacks. And you just look at the history of the NFL draft, they'll tell you that. How many corners have they had drafted in the last 10, 20 years? Jack Akagwanu. Obviously, you have Nick Nelson. The kid that went to the Bills. Somebody in the chat remind me. A couple. My point is you had a couple, but not many. Compare that to running backs or tight ends or linebackers. I mean, they've even had probably more defensive linemen than cornerbacks. It's a tough spot. And when you have an anchor like Ricardo Hallman that you can just put there, feel great about, rotate coverage away from, it's just such a massive piece of this defense. And I want to highlight that he's already looked good in practice according to reports. Another one that's looked really good, Mason Ryer. Several people have talked about, I had Jake Kokorowski on. He talked about how strong and physical Mason Ryer looks like. Nick Osen said it as well. You've seen a tweet from Zach Heilprin. Again, I'm always going to give credit to the people who are there, who are reporting the news. Pretty consensus, according to the consensus, man. I butchered that. Pretty universally, he has looked really good. And I cannot emphasize enough how big of a piece Mason Ryer is potentially for this defense, because he is one of the guys who could be a game wrecker. He's one of the guys who has done it at this level of football. He's done it at Louisville. He's put production together against high-level competition. He can bend the edge. He can hit the quarterback. He's proven it. It's just health. That's it. That's all with Mason Ryer. If he's healthy, he's a borderline NFL guy. He is a 5 to 7 sack guy on the edge, on the defense line with his hand in the dirt. That is so valuable. And the only reason, let's be super honest about this, he's probably a guy that prices himself out of the Badgers kind of comfort zone if he's fully healthy last year. If he's fully healthy and there's no injury questions about him coming into that offseason, this is probably a guy that goes for a lot more in the portal. It's probably a guy that goes to an Ohio State or a Georgia or Florida or a Texas A&M, one of those schools that just kind of has silly money in Oregon. The Badgers got him at a bit of a discount, I think, because of the injury questions, because they're not sure what the knee is going to look like this year, what that player is going to look like from a health standpoint. If he's healthy, it's a steal because he's a difference maker. He's the type of guy who can give you Alec James type production. If you're a Badger fan from 10, 15 years ago, you remember Alec James getting 6, 7 sacks, Matt Henningsen. He's that type of guy. And easy guy to root for, loves football if you're following him on Instagram. Him being healthy and then people talking about how great he looks, how good he looks. Now, the only caveat I'd say is they got to be careful with him. Be careful. I know these coaches are going to do that. I know the coaching staff is going to do that. He's got to have a bit of a pitch count, in my opinion. He's an upperclassman. He's a veteran. There's an injury history there. This is a great opportunity to develop some depth with some of those younger pieces. Be careful with him because come this season, you're going to need him on third down. You're going to need him on 3rd and 7 because he's one of those few guys that I think can generate pressure. I want to get to 2 points here. There's a thing called, in my head, I'm going to call it generate pressure. And then there's a thing called manufacturing pressure. He can generate pressure because he can beat one-on-ones. He can hit the quarterback without having to be schemed up to do it. There's certain players that you got to scheme up pressure because you're lacking athletes, you're lacking depth, you're lacking size. And you have to, as a defensive coordinator, move your chess pieces around enough to scheme up pressure. Jim Leonard was great at that. Ryer doesn't need that. He can just go beat his guy one-on-one, and you don't need to scheme up pressure for him. You need a couple guys like that in the front 7. The Badgers didn't have that last year. It's one of the biggest things they didn't have was the ability of just sending 4 and trusting one of those 4 to beat pressure. You have to scheme up everything as a DC. That's impossible when you're playing teams that have better talent than you or as much talent as you to continually need to scheme up pressure when none of your guys are winning one-on-ones. Ryer can win one-on-ones. Him being healthy is big. The next one I wanted to hit on was Nizer Fortgreen. Again, I talked about it. How are they handling it? So he did get a couple reps, but they're working in the younger guys. They're kind of working as though he won't be here, even though they're still fighting that legal battle. Obviously, we would love Nizer Fortgreen on this team as a Badger fan. He's a big part of last year's defense. I think he's every bit as good, although very different of a cornerback as Ricardo Hallman. If you have those two, you have a great veteran combo to lean on. So I like how they're handling it. You got to get him some reps just in case he is cleared. If he is able to come back, you don't want him to get no reps, but it sounds like for the most part, they give him reps to Emilio Agard, some of the younger pieces, Deone Hill. I think that's how you have to handle it. You have to get those younger guys more reps because Nizer Fortgreen is not Darrelle Revis where he needs no reps, but he's a veteran. He needs a little less. So let's get the younger guys reps. Let's make sure we're covered there in case Nizer can't come back. And then if he can come back, you have a couple games to really work him fully in. He's played a lot of football. He is going to be more experienced. Obviously, I don't know where that's going to go. I don't know what direction it's going to go. I'm a little pessimistic, although that's based on nothing. I haven't heard anything. I don't know which direction that Nizer Fortgreen thing's going to go. I would be surprised if he's on. I just don't think it's going to happen. That's based on nothing. It feels like the NCAA never gives Wisconsin a break. Like, am I crazy on that? You remember back to like Micah Potter transferring in, and you had Mac from Air Force, and then you have this Nizer Fortgreen thing, and you had the shoebox scandal, shoegate, whatever, from a long time ago. But Wisconsin got like hammered for that. I know I'm missing some other ones, but like it feels like Wisconsin doesn't get the NCAA benefit of the doubt for some reason. I don't know why. And I'm probably just a jaded fan. I'm sure that's not really true, but I just expect it to go against us. I guess that's just a fan in me. And in that case, I'm glad that they're getting guys like Emilio Agard reps. I'm glad that they're getting younger guys reps and preparing just in case he's not going to be here. And I think this cornerback duo can still be pretty good. Rico and Emilio, I think, could be a good unit. All right, we're going to pause there. We're going to come back. We're going to get your comments. If you guys have anything you want to throw into the community show, please do it. Let us know. We're going to come back and talk about some players that have done really well at practice so far, according to reports. Very excited to talk about a couple of these players and what it means for the Badgers. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. First, a quick second for our friends of the show, new friends of the show over at Drip Drop. I love this product. My kids love this product. I almost didn't get any of this product. I got a box of it in. My kids went through all of it at Drip Drop. If you've ever decided to head to like a ball game with friends or family, maybe it's a game day, suddenly you realize you're going to be in the stands. That's exactly where something like Drip Drop comes in on. It is something that is a hydration tool. It helps you stay hydrated. It stays on top of your routine, electrolytes, and allows you to stay focused, wherever you are, because the hydration is where it all starts. And that's where Drip Drop comes in. If you notice, I got my Drip Drop right here because I never really go too far without it. My favorite flavor is cherry. This is awesome. You just mix it in. It has less sugar than other powdered drinks. It lets you feel refreshed and recharged. I always kind of keep them in my back pocket. Again, cherry is my go-to flavor. Drip Drop is doctor-developed, scientifically proven for fast hydration. It uses the perfect balance of sodium, electrolytes, and glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of a leading sports drink. And right now, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order over at Drip Drop. Head over to dripdrop.com and just use code Locked On College. Again, I use this product. My kids use this product. My favorite flavor is cherry. You're going to love it. Go get you some Drip Drop and stay hydrated in a healthy way in 2025 as the summer heat is killing us all. All right, let's jump back into this. Let's talk about some players that seem to be winning practice so far. And I also want to get some of your comments in here. Let's see. We got Ethan Hauser. Our Badger fans, our Badgers are hungry. Let's go. Brett D, go Badgers, baby. JB, 9-3. Matthew Anderson says 10-2. First of all, appreciate everybody in the chat. We got Jack, Jake, JB, Brett. We got Ethan, Zach Bartz. Yep. Thank you, Ethan. Wild Goose. Richard Wild Goose was the other cornerback I was trying to think that got drafted. Yep. Jack also says Wild Goose. We got Jake Ionaro in here. Man, I hope you guys are right about 9-3. Listen, we got to do something. And you guys can hold me to this. You can clip this list. The internet lives forever. If we go 9-3, I'm going to do something crazy. Like safely, right? Because I have 2 children and a wife and a mother who's going to probably watch this show, and she'll no doubt grimace at whatever I come up with. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know. Something. We'll do some bungee jumping. I don't know. We'll do something amazing if we go 9-3, because that will be a reason to celebrate. It'll be an incredible accomplishment. This schedule is brutal. We talk about it all the time. Sometimes when you talk about something all the time, you become numb to it. This schedule is brutal. If you become numb to that schedule talk, it's really hard. And going 9-3 would be akin to going 11-1, would be akin to going 12-0 in the old Big Ten West. Let's be honest with this. What is the conversion rate, right? We always do conversion rates with things, miles to kilometers, whatever we're converting, what's the conversion rate from a old Big Ten West schedule to this one? Is a win in this schedule worth 2 on a Big Ten West schedule? If you win 7 games on this schedule, is it worth like 14 in the old Big Ten West days? Maybe it's 1.5. Yeah, if we win 9 games, we're doing something crazy. No doubt about it. Robert Sorensen, great friend of the show, man. Ryer got that TJ Watt build, not the same player, just from a build standpoint. JB says anything less is unacceptable. Play harder, play tougher, play meaner, and you win. You have to want it more. Listen, I get that. There is an intangible quality to, I think at times last year's team gave up. I think they folded. There wasn't enough toughness. There weren't, let's embody it into a player. There weren't enough Hunter Wohlers on last year's team. There were not enough Hunter Wohlers who just really bled this program on last year's team. It was too soft. It didn't care enough. It also wasn't talented enough. And that's the other point I'm going to make. You can play tougher and meaner and harder all you want. If you're not talented enough, it won't matter in the long term. And I don't know if they're talented enough to win 9 games this year. I hope they are. And again, if they are, I'll let the chat almost come up with what I'll do. We'll do something crazy. Our guy, Rajiv. Yes, Ryer can be so massive for us. Stay healthy, guy. Again, I think you got to limit Ryer. I think you have to limit the snaps, the pitches. Let's get it into Major League Baseball context. You can't have him throw 100 pitches a game. You got to limit him, because in limited snaps, he could be really impactful. And I think you have enough depth now where you don't need him taking a ton of punishment in the run game, even though he can hold up there. Physically, he can set the edge. He can hold up. But maybe let Parker Peterson take some of those. Daryl Peterson, who's up to 260. Maybe you slide Perkins going to be inside, but Javier Suggs, Barton. There's a lot of options there where you have some guys, Dylan Johnson, who can take some of those reps, and then you just use the guy with the biggest fastball in the fastball moments, right? When you got to send the heater, think Rick Wild, think Vaughn. When you got to send the heater down the middle of the plate, that's kind of Ryer to some degree. And you got to have him fresh and healthy. And listen, injuries could happen at any point. You can keep him healthy, limit snap count, and he can still get hurt on the first play. I get that. But be careful with him because I think you might need him this year. Robert Sorensen. Oh, what's another one? Yeah, maybe if we rotate Wynn and Ryer, they can both stay healthy. I agree. Dennis Reynolds beer lets you stay hydrated as well. I like that. Dennis also says, I think tight end is rounding into form. Seagraves is at best fourth string, and he looks good at times. The tight end room's interesting. I think Lance Mason has surprised people. I like Tucker Ashcraft. Again, I've talked several times. I think he's a guy that got judged a little prematurely because he was forced to play. That's a guy who I think at the line of scrimmage is going to be pretty impactful as a blocker. I like Lance Mason as like the other half of him, right, where he's more the receiving threat. Tucker Ashcraft is more that blocking threat. You still have Grant Steck is kind of a high upside inline tight end that I like, has good hands, great size. And then I think obviously Jackson Aker is going to use a little bit in that H-back tight end role. There's pieces there for sure. I don't know if there's a dynamic piece there right now. Down the road, you're looking at maybe a Nizee Davis, maybe as a Grant Steck develops more. I think it's a solid room. I would hesitate to go above that because we have to see it on the field. But I think there's the pieces there for a solid room, Dennis. I agree with you there. Okay, let's get into a couple of players. By the way, more comments we're getting into, but I want to hit on a couple other players that have done well in practice so far. And again, I'm basing this off, always want to give credit to the people who are there. You know, I'm reading reports from Heilprin and Polzin and Nick Osen and obviously Kokorowski, who was also on the show. And then I'm talking to people. And so listening to coaches, it sounds like Daryl Peterson has looked great so far. And I think it's really interesting when you couple that with he's 260 now. And go back to him in high school. There were a lot of moments on Daryl Peterson's film where he had his hand in the dirt. And that's what he's doing now. I wonder if this is just eventually, sometimes it takes a while to find your role. It takes a while to find your comfortability. And it sounds like this might be a really good fit for him at 260, hand in the dirt. And what that allows you to do is just be a little more instinctive, just be a little more natural, where you don't have to read and react as much. You're not off the line of scrimmage. And that was always one of the things I thought Daryl Peterson struggled with. It was stringing together pass rushing moves, understanding if you're a EA Sports player, Madden, what button sequence to hit when you engage the offensive lineman when you have some space. Now it's just, he can just react. He can just be an athlete. And he was a high-level athlete coming into this program. He's bigger now. I'm really encouraged by the fact that it sounds like, or very early in practice, it sounds like he's doing well. He could be a big part of this defense this year. Dylan Jones, another one. Reports are very high on him. Again, Kokorowski was on the other day. He talked about, the first thing he talked about was the running back room. He talked about Dylan Jones. Other people have mentioned him. That one sounds like he's rounding into the type of form that we thought Dylan would. I don't think there's any real surprise there, but at this point, I think there would be surprised if he didn't develop into that bell cow running back. Danny O'Neal, again, talking about some of the players that have, according to reports, looked really good in practice so far. What an important insurance policy, because what has happened the last couple of years when you lost your starter, you've just imploded. You've lost the ability to generate offense, to generate explosive passing plays, to be consistent. Having that guy in your back pocket, in your bullpen, just in case something happens to Billy Edwards, I think he's a better, just a more athletic, better, more poised potentially version of Braden Locke. He gives you something where if Billy Edwards gets hurt, or if you just need him for a possession or a series or a game or a couple games, I don't think you're as good as when Billy Edwards is out there. He's not as big as Billy. He's not as experienced, but I don't think the wheels fall off. And it sounds like Danny O'Neal has looked really solid so far in that backup court. We know he's going to be a backup. We know he's coming in as number 2. It's not a quarterback competition, but I like hearing positive vibes there because quarterbacks get hurt every year. You got to have a backup. You got to have an insurance policy. I mean, listen, you need insurance policies for everything. I got an insurance policy for my house. People have insurance policies for their pets. People have fantasy football insurance. And it seems like the last couple of years, we haven't had quarterback insurance. Now we have quarterback insurance. It's so valuable to have somebody there that if they come in and they have to play, the game plan doesn't fall apart. The offense doesn't come apart at the seams. The good ship Wisconsin doesn't sink into the bottom of the Atlantic. And I don't think it will with Danny O'Neal. I'm excited about that. It's so important, man. Another one, Sebastian Cheeks. He was a guy, if you remember last year, if you were here last year, if you're an everydayer, many times I was like, gosh, he looks really good out there. Could we get him some more reps? Because we can't hit the quarterback. And it just felt like much kind of like Christian Allegro, or I even thought a guy like Anelu Lafayette, who's no longer with the program, should have got more reps. I felt like Sebastian Cheeks probably should have got more reps last year. Sounds again like his speed is a problem this year. He's fast. He's athletic. He can turn the corner. He's probably going to have a role this year. That spot is deep, but I'm excited to see what he looks like. All right, let's take a quick second here again. Coming back, I'm going to talk about a few players that I think need to win practice. They're really important for them, plus more of your comments. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick second for our friends of the show. And as always, just a quick second to say thank you for tuning in to Locked On Badgers. Appreciate you guys so much. All right, let's get some comments in here. Again, when we go live, we try to get some more of your comments in, try to get some more from the community in. Jason Geldon, Badgers are so back this year. Let's go. I love that, Jason. Welcome to the channel. You're in here a lot, though. I appreciate you. JB says if we go 9-3, Ryan is celebrating Hanukkah instead of Christmas this year. I've got a menorah for you. I don't think I can do that. I mean, listen, I would love to break bread with you over any holiday, and we will make it work. I don't know if I can do that, though. Like, Christmas is a big deal in the Herring's household. We have a Christmas village we put up. It's a big deal. I used to make a boat with, like, a Christmas thing and put it on a pond. Like, it's a big deal. Zach Bart says, we were average quarterback play away from beating Penn State and Oregon. If we do that, we go 7-5 and are having a completely different conversation this offseason. Let's go get a massive upset win this season. First of all, love it. Also love Zach Bart's. Dude is awesome, and he knows ball. What would be the massive upset? Because I don't think – put it in the chat. Like, who is the massive upset we can win this year? And I don't think Michigan's a massive upset, so I don't think that one counts. I think the massive upsets would be Bama, Ohio State, and Oregon. Are any of those on the table for us? I think Michigan would be an upset. I don't expect that line to be anything more than like 9, maybe like 9.5, 11. I don't know. I don't think that's going to be a massive upset. Who of those three teams, Oregon and Zach, if you're still in this chat, for sure, throw it in there. Of those three teams, Oregon, Ohio State, and Bama, which one can we upset? I'm curious if people think any of those are possible. Kate Barry's in the chat, good friend of the show. Jackson here, JB again, Jason Melvin, Robert Rogg is in here. Yeah, he said we have 2 decent insurance policies at quarterback. Simmons isn't a slouch as a third quarterback either. And then behind him, you got Carter Smith, who is raw, like he's not going to play this year. But that quarterback depth chart feels better. It feels solid. It feels like you've improved at the 1, the 2, and the 3, and probably the 4, if we're being completely honest. So got to see it on the field, but I like where that quarterback depth chart has gone. She said, Bucky says we should have beat Oregon last year. The weird thing with Oregon, and I know what the score said, and situationally, it almost felt like we pushed them as hard as we could. What's a better way to word it? They kept us at arm's length, it felt like a little bit. Like, I feel like if they felt more threatened, they would have played better. I don't know. Maybe I'm not wording that very well. I think we were closer to beating Penn State. I think better quarterback play, we beat Penn State. Or if Drew Aller doesn't get hurt, we beat Penn State. I think if Oregon, if we played better, we scored more, they just would have scored more. It's just a feeling I have. I don't know that. And maybe I'm being pessimistic. Maybe I'm completely wrong on that. But yeah, I don't know. Papa Smurf said Michigan would be a massive upset. Big talent gap. Possible. I don't know if there's So I've been mostly on the side of I don't expect us to beat Michigan. There's a lot of Badger fans that I feel like are more optimistic on our chances in Ann Arbor than I am. So I think I'm more aligned with you, Papa Smurf, on this one. But I still feel like that's not a massive upset because there's a chance Michigan's not very good at the quarterback spot. There's a lot of offensive line turnover they have. They weren't good at receiver last year. They recruit at a higher clip than we do, and they bring in transfer portal talent at a higher clip than we do. So they're going to reload. They're not, when people talk about, well, man, Michigan lost so many pieces. Well, yeah, but they're also going to bring in a lot of pieces. They recruit and land talent at a pretty high clip. But I don't know if we really know that Sharon Moore is a great coach, do we? Like, do we know he's an elite coach? I don't know. Maybe. Jerry will tell. So, yeah, I don't know if I would call that a massive upset. I just don't. But I hear you. I hear you on that one. A couple more thoughts on here. Fisherman, Ohio State is the best bet because it's at home. I think that's the answer. Fisherman, thanks for being in the chat, man. I think that's the answer because it's a home game. I can't see us going to Autzen and beating Oregon on the road at the end of that kind of just deflating stretch of games where you're going to play Michigan, you're going to play Iowa, you're going to play Ohio State. I think it is Ohio State. And listen, Ohio State's another one. They're replacing a quarterback. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like. You could trip up Ohio State. I think that's the most likely one. And I think I plan on being there for that game and being excited to watch it. So I think that's the one. Zach Bart says I could see Oregon. New quarterback, Evan Stewart suffered an injury, could hit them. Yeah, I mean, they lost a big-time weapon in Stewart, new quarterback who they like, but we don't exactly know what he's going to look like. He spent last year kind of behind Dylan Gabriel. Now, their defensive line is salty. Their defensive line is really, really good. They have a great tight end. They are replacing 4 offensive linemen. Oregon is, if I remember correctly. So possibly, but at that point in the season, I think their offensive line will be gelled up. I just don't like that situation where after 3 tough games, you have to go on the road to Oregon. If Oregon was home, I think it's a little different. Or even if they're in a different spot of the schedule, that feels like a scheduled loss to me, which is tough. And yeah, it's just tough. Coach Mac, what's up, Badger fans? I'm down here in UNC soaking up excellence from Bill. Wisconsin is winning all the big games, starting with Alabama. Roll Badgers. Let's go. Zach says, if we are a competent team, I do believe we knock off Indiana and Illinois as possible underdogs. Iowa for the LOB weekend will be nice to see a win as well. Yep. Listen, Locked On Badgers, we're doing a meetup on the Iowa weekend. We do these every single year. At least one time we get together, we break bread, we drink beer, or non-beer. If you're not into beer, it's all good. Doesn't matter. It's all about making it more fun to be a Badgers fan. So we come together, we watch, we meet up before the game, we talk about it. Last year we went to watch some high school hoops in the area too. I would love to see everybody come down. Let's have fun being a Badger fan and let's celebrate with a win. We did a Locked On basketball event last year with Oregon. We all had tickets together, so we walked into the Kohl Center together. And again, I think that's what it's all about. Let's build community, let's build ties together, and let's make it more enjoyable to be a Badgers fan. So I hope if anybody's interested, come to our Locked On events this year. It's free. We usually try to get some good spots to hang out and talk, and it's all good. And usually Rajiv is there, Justin is there. It's a ton of fun. Kate Barry says, I see us winning against Oregon. Now, that would be a massive upset. And it would be incredible because this program, it's been too long since we've had one of those moments. It's been too long since we've had one of those, just those magical big time front page of ESPN. People talk about it on podcasts. People double take reaction type moments. It's been too long. And I would love it for it to be this year. I would love it to be Oregon. I would love it to be Ohio. Out of those 3, how would you rank those 3? Well, Ohio State's number 1, right? Ohio State would be, it's at home. It's Ohio State. That would be the incredible one. Number 2, to me, it's probably Bama. Because if you can go down to Bryant-Denny, I'm just ranking in terms of like how cool it would be in that order. If you can go down to Bama, Bryant-Denny, and knock off an SEC powerhouse out of conference to give you momentum going into the rest of the year, that'd be insane. And then I think number 3 is Oregon. I don't think they carry the same cachet as Ohio State or Bama. Just nationally. I mean, I know where they are, but the other 2 I think are bigger. Okay, let's get some more comments in here if anybody has any. Griffin says, if our linebackers in line get any kind of pass rush and play a little better than expected, it will be enough. Big year for Walker and Allegro. Yeah, big expectations for those. And I think the outside guys too. I think Clayton's going to play. I think Cheeks is going to play. I think that's a good group overall. And I hear you. I think part of this year's linebacker group looking a lot better. And follow me, guys and gals, follow me on this one. This year's linebacker group is going to look a lot better because I think they're better. I think healthy Tackett, another year of Allegro development, Clayton, another year of Cheeks development, but they're also going to just look better because the defensive line's better. And people are, I think at times, potentially going to marvel at how good this linebacker unit is and how athletic they look because they're going to slice through and they're going to get a TFL or they're going to make a explosive pass rush. And they're going to forget about the fact that last year's linebacker group would have looked better with a better defensive line. And it's all complementary football. It all matters. Like the context, when you're evaluating football players, especially football players, basketball players too, but especially football players, context matters so much. It's impossible to evaluate a running back in a silo or an inside linebacker in a silo. What scheme are they using? Who's around them? How good is the defensive line? Are their offensive linemen getting up to that second level and banging them around all game, or do they have free runs? It's partially why we've had so many great linebackers for years and years. Those guys were incredibly talented, and they also played behind guys like Isaiah Loudermilk and Matt Henningsen and Keanu Benton. They played behind some dudes who held up offensive linemen. Wow, that was a lot. Take a breath. I think this year's linebacker group looks better because they are better, but because the defensive line is better as well. And it's complimentary football, and I'm here for it. All right, guys, it is 30. We're going to wrap it up. Really do appreciate you all so much. Bunch more content coming up this week on Wisconsin as always, and we will definitely talk later. Sorry, I didn't get to every comment in the chat, but I appreciate you guys so much on Wisconsin. And as always, we will talk later. A bunch of content coming up. I'll hopefully be at practice for a few. I was going to do it this week, but wasn't able to make it. And yeah, thank you for tuning in.